If you're a huge fan of The Legend of Zelda, you'll know that the franchise has 3 distinct timelines, each with its own unique stories and characters. But do you know which games belong to each timeline and how Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom fit into the picture? The iconic series has been an absolute titan for Nintendo, and with the release of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom coming up in May 2023, fans are speculating about how this latest installment fits into the Zelda timeline. If you're not familiar with the timeline or are confused about which game belongs to which timeline, this is the perfect video for you. So, what actually is The Legend of Zelda timeline, and when was it created? After years of speculation and theories, The Legend of Zelda Hyrule Historia, released in 2011, finally provided fans with a definitive answer and an official map of the Zelda timeline. The timeline consists of 3 possible outcomes or branches: the Fallen Hero timeline, the Child Link timeline, and the Adult Link timeline. But which game in the franchise actually started it all? Although Skyward Sword technically is the first game chronologically, it's actually the Ocarina of Time that serves as the catalyst for the split between the 3 branches. Now, let's dive into each timeline and explore which games belong to each one, as well as how and why they occurred. The Legend of Zelda Fallen Hero timeline. The Fallen Hero timeline is a result of Link's defeat in his quest to defeat Ganondorf in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Unfortunately, Ganondorf manages to claim all 3 parts of the Triforce, becoming the all-powerful Demon King. The only way to prevent him from taking over the world was to seal him in the Sacred Realm along with the completed Triforce. This decision creates a timeline where Ganon is later resurrected in The Legend of Zelda A Link to the Past, and this sparks an endless cycle of him being brought back to life and then Link saving the day by defeating him. Interestingly, the Fallen Hero timeline boasts the largest number of games in the Zelda series. Games that fall within this timeline are The Legend of Zelda, The Adventure of Link, A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, A Link Between Worlds, and Triforce Heroes. The Legend of Zelda Child Link timeline. This gets a bit confusing. This timeline consists of 2 different versions of Link, as Ocarina of Time splits into 2 separate timelines after Link defeats Ganondorf. In one timeline, Link defeats Ganondorf as an adult, but is then sent back to the past by Zelda to relive his childhood. Link then returns to his childhood and warns Princess Zelda of Ganondorf's intentions, ultimately preventing his rise to power. The games that belong to the Child Link timeline are Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, and Four Swords Adventures. And finally, we have The Legend of Zelda Adult Link timeline. To be honest, this is pretty much a clone of the Child Link timeline, but with a completely different outcome. After defeating Ganondorf in the future, Link is sent back to the past, but instead of warning Zelda about Ganondorf's plans, he just disappears without a trace. This leads to a world where Ganondorf eventually returns and takes over without anyone to stop him. In a desperate attempt to save the day, the gods flood the land, submerging Hyrule in a massive ocean of water. And so, the adult timeline is born, where a new Link emerges and sets out to save the day once again. You'll notice that the OG Hyrule Castle now lives below sea level that was once so prevalent in Ocarina of Time. The adult timeline consists of these 3 games: the Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit Tracks. Okay, now we've had the whistle-stop tour, what about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom? Well, that's where things get interesting. I can't say for certain, and to be honest, there's a huge debate amongst Zelda fans about where these games fit in the timeline. In Breath of the Wild, Princess Zelda mentions multiple past heroes, some of which don't really just fit into one timeline. This led fans to speculate that Breath of the Wild actually merges all 3 timelines together, and as fans are eagerly awaiting the release of Tears of the Kingdom, and the fate of Hyrule hangs in the balance once more, the question on everyone's mind is whether we'll see a completely new timeline emerge, which kind of would make sense considering that Ganondorf is returning as the main villain. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, you should check out this video, where we discuss the already leaked DLC for Tears of the Kingdom.